Hey everyone, welcome back to the Npte podcast. This is Will Crane, your host. Thank you so much for joining me as we go through the content you need in order to dominate on test day. So as we get started here today, I've got a practice question for you. This is related to the integumentary system. So this is all related to integumentary examination. So on test day, you can expect a handful of questions related to Integ, somewhere between 8 and 11 questions, according to the latest FSBPT content outline. So certainly a significant section, but not one of the larger sections of the cardio-musculo and neuro. So as you recall, as we go through this podcast, we're going through each of the content areas that will be tested on exam day. Now, certainly there's a lot of content, many thousands of pages that could be tested. The key with having effective preparation is making sure you have narrowed your focus not only to things that are the most likely to be tested, but things that perhaps you haven't thought about or haven't looked at in a couple of years. Maybe you learned in your first year of PT school, haven't thought about or used in a little while. So Integ tends to fit into that category of things that you had maybe one class on, you haven't had much wound care since. So I wanted to make sure we hit that section for sure, and we're hitting every section as we go through the FSBPT content outline. Just a quick reminder, though, before we get to the question, that it's not too late if you want to sign up for some of our classes. We've got ongoing classes for the July administration of the Npte. So we're just starting up our VIP class. So the VIP class, this is where I personally take students through all the content that they need on test day. We do that primarily through, we have pre-recorded content. So lots and lots and lots of pre-recorded content, much like what you're accustomed to here in the podcast. Additionally, we meet several times each week. And in those sessions, we go over practice questions, really nothing but practice questions, going through loads and loads and loads of practice questions, plus student-directed questions. Additionally, you're able to schedule phone calls with me to be able to talk about content. I have a lot of students who they'll just bring a laundry list of questions that they have, things that are maybe confusing, that they wish they understood a little bit better. And so we talk through those, and typically makes for quite a positive experience. In addition to that, you have access to all of our written material. So we've got a study guide, a workbook key. We also have 6 practice exams in an exam simulator. So again, a very popular item. All that's included complementarily. It's a complimentary access to our exam simulator. And then finally, just to cap it all off, we do a crash course 3 weeks before every test day. So as a part of the VIP class, you get access to that PT crash course that is done 3 weeks before every test day. Again, great way to really brush up on that cardio, musculo, and neuro. Additionally, or in addition to all of the other content that you have access to as a part of the class. So we've got live sessions, pre-recorded content, written material, practice exams, and exam questions. It really is a one-stop shop. I remember talking to one professor who I was talking through, okay, not only do we have the practice questions, a lot of people have practice questions, but we got the practice questions, we have the written content, so that's pretty cool. We got written content and practice questions. Oh, and by the way, we got a video library. Okay, so video library. And in addition to that, we do live sessions, lots of live sessions. And the professor was just kind of floored, like, whoa, that does sound like a good deal. And I like to say, yes, I think so too. And that's my whole goal, is to make your study process as seamless and go as smoothly as possible. So be sure to check us out over at ptfinalexam.com. Again, unparalleled service. You'll find many hundreds of 5-star reviews. It's a real passion of mine. It's something that I continue. I'm a practicing PT in addition to what I do over here at PT Final Exam. So I'm in the trenches with you. I know what it's like to have the charting hanging over your head, to have patient care always at the top of your mind. Something that, again, I would remind you of, that this is a great intersection of your skill and your interest. So just keep in mind that this is something you're really good at, and it's worth doing. And so I feel like that's a very positive direction to go in. Albeit kind of painful to go through the Npt, definitely a positive direction. All right, so let's dive into our practice question for today. This is, again, an integumentary examination question. I'll read you the question, give you a moment to ponder on it, and then we'll talk about the answer together. Here we go. A patient has a neuropathic wound on the plantar surface of the left foot and is being examined in the prone position. The wound is located at the head of the first metatarsal and has an area of undermining of 1 centimeter toward the head of the third metatarsal. When documenting the wound using the clock method, which of the following descriptions best indicates the location of the undermining? So we have a patient with a neuropathic wound on the plantar surface of the left foot being evaluated or examined in the prone position. The wound is located at the head of the first metatarsal and has an area of undermining of 1 centimeter toward the head of the third metatarsal. When documenting the wound using the clock method, which of the following descriptions best indicates the location of the undermining? 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or 12 o'clock. So again, we've got a wound, first metatarsal head that it has undermining toward the third metatarsal head. So which part, basically, when using the clock method, which description is best indicating the location of the undermining? 3, 6, 9, or 12 o'clock. So this is an example on test day of a question that you'll have to visualize that perhaps there won't be an image on screen for you. However, you'll have to visualize where it is on the patient and the direction or location of the wound or wound bed, in this case, the undermining. And so as you consider this, if the patient is, it doesn't really matter what position the patient is, you always indicate 12 o'clock at the point that is closest to the head or the most cephalad point. So the 12 o'clock position assigned to the wound part or the portion of the wound closest to the head. Then using the clock method, you would go around the clock. So 3 o'clock would be extending towards your right hand. 9 o'clock would be towards your left hand, or not toward. I need to be careful to say this properly. As you are looking at the wound, if the wound was sitting right in front of you, if it's just on the table right in front of you, the part that is towards the 3 o'clock side would be towards the right hand side, or the right side of the wound as you're looking at it. And the 9 o'clock would be towards the left side of the wound. But again, I have to be cautious about using right and left because in this case, we're looking at the plantar surface of the left foot. So the plantar surface of the left foot, as we consider that the first metatarsal head is on the medial side, and the third metatarsal head is a little bit towards the lateral side or towards the middle of the foot. So we're going from a medial point to a more lateral point on the plantar surface of the left foot. So this is technically the 9 o'clock position. And this is a great example of when it would be helpful to draw this out. So those of you who are watching the YouTube version of this, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. That as we go to our, let's see, I want to make sure. Got this. All right, there we go. So those of you watching the YouTube version may enjoy this as we draw this out. So if we're looking at the plantar surface of the foot, you'll see that if we have a wound that is kind of a circular form and it's near the first metatarsal head, so there's the first metatarsal head. The third metatarsal head is lateral to that, so the third metatarsal head. So again, I'm drawing this out. Those of you watching YouTube will be able to see this. But if the undermining is towards the third metatarsal head, then as you're looking at the wound, you'll see that the 12 o'clock is the point that is closest to the head. So 12 o'clock. 3 o'clock is the right side of the wound. And again, I need to be careful not to say right or left. But in a clock position, the 3 o'clock position is down at 90 degrees from the 12 o'clock position. I'm trying to think how to say that without saying right and left. And then the 6 o'clock position is at the point that is farthest from the head, so more towards the toes. And then 9 o'clock position would be the one that we're talking about here, that is at the first metatarsal head, extending towards the third metatarsal head, and is therefore the 9 o'clock position. So again, just to summarize, we have the wound located at the first metatarsal head that is extending towards the third metatarsal head on the left foot. Therefore, in using the clock method, with 12 o'clock being the point closest to the head, therefore this undermining is at the 9 o'clock position, meaning the lateral position that is going towards the 9 o'clock on the clock as you extend from the first metatarsal head to the third metatarsal head. So again, the reason I bring this up is because on test day, you will be asked to visualize what's happening with the patient and the location of, say, a wound, or it doesn't even have to be a wound. It could be a special test, could be anything that would be a part of your examination. You'll have to visualize it. And this is a great time to use that scratch pad or brain dump in order to draw out or create a very brief, obviously it has to be a very brief sketch, but a very brief sketch of the clock, and just draw out where the first metatarsal head and the third metatarsal head is on the plantar surface of the foot. The other key thing to remember here is that you always assess not that you're assuming it, but you always assess and describe things from an anatomical position standpoint. So because in anatomical position, the plantar surface, basically the feet are plantar flexed in anatomical position. And so again, the point that's closest to the head would be the the 12 o'clock position. And in this case, we're talking about extending from the first towards the third metatarsal on the left foot, which would be the 9 o'clock position. So I guess my big suggestion here is draw that out a couple of times and make sure that you understand that everything is in reference to anatomical position. And so regardless of patient orientation, so whether the patient is side lying or sitting, whatever, you're making a description based on anatomical position. Excellent. So with that, we'll bring today's session to a conclusion. So like I said, I've got the YouTube version of this. So if you want to check out the YouTube version, you'll be able to easily see what I'm talking about with the image. Also, be sure to check us out over on Instagram. Try to post a lot of fun and interesting tips and tricks over on Instagram. You can find us at our handle PT Final Exam. Plus, we're everywhere you listen to this podcast. Be sure to leave us a review wherever it is you're listening to us. Check us out on YouTube, all the socials, and be sure to check out all of our freebies over at ptfinalexam.com/podcast. So with that, we'll bring it to a conclusion. I hope you have a fabulous day, everyone. Keep a grin on your chin as you study, and remember, Will Crane fist bumps all around, and I'll catch you all in the next episode. Thanks, everyone.